Saptamahim Devamachakshta Grihata Gadau Parad Kayur Kundala Krita Vitanka Veshu. Synonyms. Tasmin, in that way, Kuntha, Atitya, after passing through Munha, the great sages, Shat 6, Sajamana, without being much attracted, Kakash was Samana, equal Vyasu age, Atha thereafter, Satmayam, at the seventh gate, there were two Vaikuntha doormen, the Chaksha saw, Grihita carrying Gado, Mrs. Pararadhya, most valuable, Kayur, bracelets, Kundala, earrings, Kirita, helmets, Vitanka, beautiful, Veshu, garments. Translation and purport by His Divine Grace. After passing through the six entrances of Vaikuntha Puri, the Lord's residence, without feeling astonishment at all the decoration, they saw at the seventh gate two shining beings of the same age, armed with maces and adorned with most valuable jewelry, earrings, diamonds, helmets, garments, etc. Purport. The sages were so eager to see the Lord within Vaikuntha Puri that they did not care to see the transcendental decorations of the six gates, which they passed by one after another. But at the seventh door, they found two doormen of the same age. The significance of the doormen's being of the same age is that in the Vaikuntha planets, there is no old age. So one cannot distinguish who is older than whom. The inhabitants of Vaikuntha are decorated like the Supreme Personality of Godhead Narayan, with Shankha, Chakra, Gada, and Padma, Khanch, wheel, club, and lotus. Om Gyanatindram Dandasya Gyananjana Salakaya Chakshurun Mritam Jena Tasme Shri Gurave Namah. Shri Chaitanya Mano Bhishtam Stapitam Jena Mutale Swayam Rupa Kadamaham Tadati Swapatantikam. Vandeham Shri Guru Shri Chutapat Kamalam Shri Gurun Vaishnavamsha Shri Rupam Sagar Jatam Sahagana Ragnatam Tantam Sujivam Sadhvetam Savdutam Parijana Sangitam Krishna Chaitanya Devam Shri Radha Krishna Padan Sahagana Lalita Shri Vishakam. He Krishna Karuna Sindhu Deen Bandhu Jagatpate Gopesha Gopika Kant Radha Kant Tapta Kanchan Gaurangi Radhe Vrindavaneshwari Vrishabhanu Sute Devi Pranamamni Hripi Vanchakalpa Turuvyaksha Kripa Sindhu Vicha Patita Nam Pavane Bhirvashni. Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shri Vasapadi Gaura. Hare Krishna 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 Hare Ram Ram Ram. So we welcome all the devotees for connecting to this morning Srimad Bhagavatam discussion. So we are discussing this pastimes of Mother Diti getting in her womb, she has a child, and because of that pregnancy, everything's becoming dark, and demigods are very much concerned what's going on. They can't perform their functions in the dark. So they approach Lord Brahmaji. So they're trying to figure it out, and this is what the um, explanation um, is given, that who is in the womb of Mother Diti? Who is this personality who's causing havoc? Um, and we heard yesterday from our dear Matanda Prabhu how um, these personalities, four Kumaras, they are heading to Vaikuntha Loka to have darshan of Lord Vishnu. So that's the context. So when I read the translation from yesterday and today's verse, it says, these four Kumaras, after passing through the six entrances of Vaikuntha Puri, so there are seven gates. I never been to Sri Rangam, but I heard Sri Rangam temple has seven gates. So in some literature, it's explained it's based on how the planetary systems are situated. But either way, the Lord's residence so that's Lord's residence, the Vaikuntha Puri, without feeling astonishment at all the decorations they saw at the seventh gate. So now they are at the seventh gate. Two shining beings of the same age, armed with maces and adorned with most valuable jewelry, earrings, diamonds. So they're seeing these two personalities, which from next verse onwards, we will hear a lot about these two personalities, Jai and Vijay. So I don't want to break any surprises, what's coming up in the next few verses. We will lead to those speakers to glorify and say a lot of have wonderful explanations on those two personalities and how they acted. But what struck me in these two verses, the last two verses and this particular one, that how is that these four Kumaras are moving freely through Vaikuntha Puri. They have gone through the six gates without any question mark. You're not, just imagine if somebody says, I can go and meet, President Joe Biden without any question mark. Nobody's going to stop me. Nobody will challenge me. Nobody will ask me any question. That's something very astonishing, strange. It sounds strange just to see Prime Minister Modi or some good leader or even a CEO of a company for that matter. You can't get to them. You can't call them. You cannot even email them. They block themselves. They filter themselves from the noise of the world. That's how they perform. But here, these four Kumaras, they're freely moving through, and they're at the seventh gate. So I wanted to study a little bit for my own satisfaction, that how is that? What we know something, that they are the Manas Putra of Lord Brahmaji, these four Kumaras. They are the first one when Brahmaji was created by the divine arrangement of Garbhadaksha Vishnu from the lotus navel. On that lotus stem, Lord Brahmaji appeared. When Lord Brahmaji performed tapa, then he was instructed to to create these material planets and create demigods and create bring forth the creation, whatever it requires. And then in his meditation, Lord Brahmaji actually first these four Kumaras came from his mind, Manas Putra. And Lord Brahmaji instructed them to please create progeny, and mm, they weren't very keen on creating progeny because they have to deal with the material nature to do that. So they asked Brahmaji to give them break from creating progeny, and they wanted to go and worship the Lord. So that much I had some information, but I wanted to know more. So I was reading, and I find some amazing text in uh, Canto 11, where Lord Krishna um, is explaining to Uddhav Maharaj. The long section, the long conversation between Lord Krishna and Uddhava. And there, in that, there is a chapter number what, 14, chapter 13, Canto 11, chapter 13. The topic is the Hansa Avataras answers the questions of sons of Brahma. That's the heading of the chapter. The Hansa Avatara answers the questions of the son of Brahma. So I was curious to read through the 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 the, the connection between four Kumaras and Lord Krishna, Lord Vishnu. So in that section we read Lord Krishna is actually explaining to the Maharaj about different yoga systems. And Uddhav Maharaj asked actually Lord Krishna different questions, especially the question about the mind and how mind is bewildered with the three modes of nature, with sense, with senses and sense gratification. So Lord is explaining to the Maharaj in that context. And then Lord mentions, after many verses of explanation of how to deal with the mind and the senses and the mutual relationship between the mind and the desires and the senses. Then, towards the very end, Lord Krishna mentions to Uddhav Maharaj, he said, Uddhav, I have, what I'm explaining to you, I have explained this same knowledge of Sankhya philosophy and Ashtanga Yoga philosophy to the four Kumaras, headed by Sanak Kumar. So then Uddhav Maharaj immediately said, oh, when did you do that? What was that occasion? What was the time when you instructed this science of yoga to Sanaka and his brothers? I want to know more. So then Lord Krishna takes Uddhav Maharaj back in history, and he explains that the same question, what Uddhav Maharaj you are asking me, Lord Krishna is saying, the same kind of question was asked by the four Kumaras to their father, Lord Brahmaji. Four Kumaras, headed by Sanak Kumar, they asked the question about this material nature and how it inflicts the mind and the desires coming out of the mind, and how living entity gets entangled with sense gratification. That question was asked by mm, four Kumaras to Brahmaji. And Lord Krishna is explaining to the Maharaj that when that question was asked by four Kumaras to Brahmaji, Brahmaji actually, who is the original mm, creator of all the universes, all the planetary systems, he actually started thinking about it. What answer I should give to my sons so they feel satisfied. And he wasn't finding the right answer. So Lord Brahmaji, in his humility, he actually did not give an answer, thinking that I'm also inflicted with bit mode of passion because I have to create. For creativity, you have to be in mode of passion. So therefore, I don't qualify to give the proper answer to the question of my sons. So Lord Brahmaji goes into the trance. He actually starts doing meditation. And in that meditation, Lord Vishnu, Lord Krishna appears to Lord Brahmaji at Hansa avatar. And when Lord Krishna appears to Lord Brahmaji at Hansa avatar and he said, I'm here. I will answer your questions. So at that time, these four Kumaras, they were also there on the scene. So they actually had face-to-face darshan of Lord Vishnu. So they put Lord Brahma in the front and they stood behind Lord Brahmaji. And all these five personalities, Lord Brahma and four Kumaras, they started asking questions to Lord Vishnu. So that's the connection I wanted to find, that this is not the first time that these four Kumaras are walking into the Vaikuntha Puri without any hesitation. What qualifications they have? Yes, they are the sons of Lord Brahmaji. That's one qualification. But my heart was saying that they definitely have much more. They're pure. Yes, they're brahmachari. They're lifelong celibacy. But even more, they must have encountered Lord Vishnu's personal darshan in their lives before. So that time, they actually, four Kumaras asked Lord Brahmaji this direct question. Four Kumaras asked Lord Vishnu, accompanied by Lord Brahmaji, they asked Lord Vishnu this direct question, who are you? And then that same question that they asked Lord Brahmaji, Brahmaji put that question to Lord Vishnu, and Lord Vishnu actually goes through these beautiful 20 semi-verses. Lord explains to Brahmaji, and obviously these four Kumaras are standing there. So they heard all the answers to that original question that Uddhava was asked. Uddhava asked Lord Krishna. And at the very end of that discussion, Lord Vishnu actually tells these four Kumaras that I am, answering to their question, who are you? That I am that Lord Vishnu. I'll read here. I believe it says, my Supreme Lord, Hansa became visible. My dear Uddhava, the sages, being eager to understand the ultimate truth of yoga, thus inquired from me. Yes. So Lord Vishnu says, I have now explained to you the confidential knowledge of Sankhya, by which one philosophically distinguishes matter from spirit. It's the same philosophy what Lord Krishna explains to Arjuna in chapter 2 of Bhagavad Gita, the Sankhya philosophy, the difference between the body and the soul. And so two philosophies, Sankhya philosophy and the Ashtanga Yoga, by which one links up with the Supreme. Please understand. So this is Lord Vishnu explained, answering to four Kumaras. Please understand that I am the Supreme Personality of Godhead Vishnu, and that I have appeared before you desiring to explain your actual religious duties. So that was very satisfying to my mind, that this encounter of four Kumaras with Lord Vishnu directly face to face and receiving wonderful instructions in the form of the Sankhya philosophy and Ashtanga Yoga philosophy. All these philosophies were given, and actually, one of the scriptures, Vishnu Yamala, it even explains that they were actually initiated into the Gopala mantra by the Lord. So some of us are second initiated, we chant Gopal Gayatri mantra every day. So that Gopal Gayatri mantra was initiated, it was given to these four Kumaras. So these are very, very um, exalted personalities, not just again because of their brahmacharya celibacy, because they are the sons of Brahmaji, uh, but their sometimes we say they were gyanis, they were impersonalists, and then by the smell from the tulsi leaves coming from the lotus of Lord Vishnu, they become bhaktas. Um, um, but more, there is more that they had direct audience of Lord Vishnu and were instructed and were initiated into the Gopal mantra. Uh, that scriptures actually explains that they were given some Shaligram Shila, which they actually given to four Kumaras, given to Narada Muni, and Narada Muni given to Nimbarka Acharya. That's how that four Kumaras establishes that Sampradaya, Kumar Sampradayas. Um, so that connection gave me this uh, 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 guides that for them to walk into the Vaikuntha Puri, um, and they're not crashing the gates. Uh, they are fully eligible. Uh, and we will see in coming verses how Jan Vijay, by the will of the divine providence, they stop them. But how Lord Vishnu was kind of waiting for them to come through the seventh gate so he could welcome them and um, give them his personal darshan to the four Kumaras. Uh, even there is another in the fourth canto. I found a connection in when Prithu Maharaj, we know all that history of how Prithu Maharaj performed the 99 yagyas. Lord Vishnu came on the scene, and Indra was given the benefit of the 100 yagyas. And Prithu Maharaj leaves the scene and he goes to his citizen, his kingdom, and all the citizens come together and they welcome Prithu Maharaj and they blessed him, they adorned him, glorified him. And then we see in those pages of Srimad Bhagavatam that Prithu Maharaj is sitting on the throne and he all of a sudden sees that these four personalities dawn upon his kingdom from the spiritual sky. And Prithu Maharaj with his associates, they immediately, first they were very concerned that who are these four personalities, but they immediately recognized that these are the four Kumaras visiting us. Prithu Maharaj was so happy. He actually immediately gave four Kumaras his throne. He said, you please sit here. You are effulgent like many, many suns. And he washed their lotus feet and he took that water and put on his head and throughout his throne and kingdoms. And he asked them amazing, amazing questions. Again, questions about the Sankhya philosophy and how this living entity is so much bewildered. And these personalities, four Kumaras, they again spoke. There are almost 30 verses in those pages of Srimad Bhagavatam about the philosophy. But at the very end, Prithu Maharaj was so pleased. He made a point. He said, all my wealth, all my kingdom, all my wives, all my children, all my body, everything I have, I'm giving to you, the rishis, the Manas Putras, the Chatursena of Brahmaji. So, and then he made one statement. He said, there are a lot of wonderful statements glorifying the four Kumaras, but this one statement was very striking to me when I was reading. He said, I am not astonished that you are visiting my house, four Kumaras. I knew when I saw Lord Vishnu in that Yagya ceremony, when Lord Vishnu visited me and gave me instructions to stop at 99 Yagyas. He said at that time, Lord Vishnu actually mentioned to me about your coming to my house soon. So I'm just seeing that my Lord's desire is getting fulfilled by sending you to my house. So I'm feeling so privileged and so honored that you're here. So I was trying to contrast how Prithu Maharaj sees these four Kumaras coming from the spiritual sky, and he's glorifying them verses after verses and verses. And he's washing their feet, and he's asking them questions, and he has an amazing conversation, and he's taking the instructions from four Kumaras. On the other hand, in Vaikuntha-puri, these four Kumaras are entering, but Jay and Vijay somehow they didn't allow. They thought they don't have the qualification to get into the seventh gate. So sometimes we as living entities, we as devotees of the Lord, we also may lose that discrimination power when to welcome who sadhu, what some discrimination devotees come into the temple or our house, or how to welcome, how to receive, how not to offend, how to see. So I was trying to find some lessons for myself in this particular pastimes of the four Kumaras entering into the Vaikuntha-puri. I will end here. Thank you so much. Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Vanshkal Patal I don't think we have time, but if you have some comment, you can please post on the group. Thank you so much. Over to
We'd like to wish everybody a safe and Krishna conscious day ahead and pray to the Supreme Lord by chanting 3 times Hare Krishna,
Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Rama,
Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Shri Nrsinga, Jai Nrsinga.
Nrsinga, Jai Nrsinga.
Ugraviram
Vishnu Jalantam Sarvato Mukha Narasimham Vishnupadam Vishnumatyo Namah.
Nrsinga Bhagwan ki
Jai.
Prahlad Maharaj ki
Jai.
Gaur Premanande.
Hari 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 Bol.
Let's offer our humble obeisances to all these wonderful devotees of the Lord. Vancha
Vanchakalpatarubhyascha Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namah.
वैष्णव की जय,
Jai,
जय,
Jai, Jai,
Jai.
Jai. Hari 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 Bol.
Thank you.
Thank you everybody. Hari Bol.